Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I want to talk a little bit about the ATG from Scotch, the Advanced Tape Glider. I have heard over the years different people having frustrations with it, but it has been a very helpful tool for me, and I find the adhesive to be very reasonably priced compared to many other alternatives, and it's less wasteful because the refill is simply a tape, and yes, you have all those, the backer thrown out and the little plastic piece in the center is thrown out, but you don't have the whole casing thrown out, which I have seen with other products. And I do also use liquid glue, and liquid glue is also another great alternative, especially if it's refillable. I use the Barely Art glue, which you can get a large refill and put it in your mini bottle or your standard size bottle. But I just wanted to kind of address some concerns and questions in case you've had some trouble with this tool, but you're not quite ready to give up on it, or you'd like to try it again because you happen to have it. So, with the tape glider, I will show you in the video how I load up a new refill, as I know that that can be kind of a stumbling block. There are some directions on the inside, and there's other videos that are addressing that, but I'll just go over that because that can be a stumbling block, and it was something that it took me a while to get used to. But in terms of actually using the ATG, I understand that it's quite heavy, and so it's not for everyone if you have wrist problems or arthritis, something like that. But generally, I don't have those particular issues. And so I think that the, bearing the physical difficulties, I wanted to address how you might successfully use it. So when you're using the ATG, as you are rolling the adhesive down, you need to push the trigger to make sure that it's coming to release off its film, because right now, without pushing the trigger, the mechanisms are stuck. So you want to make sure you're pressing the trigger down fully and engaging it there, and that's why it can be a bit of a sort of hand cramping situation for some people. And when you're finished, you want to release the trigger before you pull the gun or the glider off of the paper. So I would place it down, and I would push down on the trigger. Then I would slide it across, and I would release the trigger completely. Hear that click? That's how I know the trigger is released completely. Now, of course, I'm going to be much quicker as I'm doing this, during normal crafting, but I'm going to go a little slow here. And so now that click means that everything's locked in place, and when I pull it up, no adhesive should come. Sometimes if I'm going too fast, I don't release the button fully. I don't, maybe hear that click, and the adhesive keeps coming. But if you might need to take some time if you're having trouble with this part, slow down and just kind of hear the click, get a feel for it so that you can get faster. Like I said, even though I've used it for years and years and years, I do sometimes still mess that up. But just knowing about it makes it a little bit easier. It makes me know that I need to kind of take a pause if I'm having trouble and go, okay, you need to slow down a little bit. So we'll just do that a few more times. You hear the click, and then the click for the release. You hear the depression of the trigger. And I am probably a little bit excessive with my adhesive compared to some people. I tend to go along the edges of everything because I like to make sure everything's stuck down. And sometimes I'll even go in the center if it's a really large piece, but you certainly don't need that much adhesive. This is very strong. It doesn't hold everything though. It's great paper to paper. That is the ATG's strong suit for sure. It doesn't work with glitter paper, and the shiny paper can be a little bit more difficult for it as well. There is I use the general purpose refill. There is a refill that is meant for heavy duty. I also find if I'm using something like a chipboard that's kind of fibrous, sometimes the ATG will just pull off the layer of fiber. So that's why I think it's important to have more than one adhesive in your craft room that might be your favorite. For instance, the liquid glue from Barely Art would work well in those circumstances. I'm going to refill the ATG, walk you through it as I do it, so that I can just notice things as much as possible and share with you any little tips or tricks about the correct way to load the machine. So it just ran out. I will push down here to open it up. The first thing I want to do is take this off, and it will show you the arrow for how to open it. Lift it up. I have forgotten many times to put this back on, so that's don't move it too far. I can take off this white disc by pushing down, like depressing this and then pulling it up. This is garbage. You don't need to hold on to that part. Pull off all the old tape, and then that's all garbage. Okay, now you have your new tape. That's how it comes from the tape jungle. And plastic like this can be recycled, where you recycle your grocery bags outside of many grocery stores or like big chain stores like Walmart, Target, etc. They have like bag recycling, and these kind of plastic things can go inside of that as well. Anyway, now that I have my new tape ready to go, I want to look at this picture, and I'm going to follow it carefully. Every time I load in the machine, I like study the picture and go slow and make sure I do it the right way. I used to have to like watch a video every time, but I'm getting better. And while this might be a little bit finicky, it's worth it. And there are some arrows that show you throughout the machine how it works. Okay, so you're going to place this over here. And what's important is to sort of rotate it until it clicks. I actually find it sometimes helpful to depress the button, but you want to press it down, and you're going to have to shift it around till it clicks on both sides, because there's a like little plastic thing on the top and bottom that are holding it in. And your tape should be pointing to the top of the glider at this point. Now, as I go to remove this, I want these to free spin, so I'm going to hold the trigger down, and I'm going to, well, let me get this started first. Okay, so I'm going to hold the trigger down as I move these. I'm going to wrap it over this one according to the arrow, and it's coming up and over. Continue to depress the trigger so that it allows the two wheels to free spin. I went over that one, and then I went underneath this one at the front, and now I'm bringing the tape along back to the roll, and I'm letting it attach to the roll because I do want it to flow along the roll. Now, once I have enough of it to come over to this side, I'm going to need to wrap the tape around this piece. So it looks like, I guess, kind of a T, but much longer at the top. And you're going to need to tuck it under and then come out the other end. So I'll need enough left, enough like extra over here to do this. And then I'll spin it so that it's at the top, so you can hopefully see it and understand as well as possible. I'm going to fit the tape inside the ring from this, right underneath this T shape, and then pull it outside the ring on the other side of the T. Now, what I have found to be helpful is putting a little bit of adhesive along this ring to help hold my new tape in place so that the new tape will stick to this and it's not just free hanging. This is meant to kind of hold it down, but it needs sometimes a little bit more support in my experience. And so that little bit of adhesive that I put there one time has lasted me for many, many refills. And then once that's all in the way I like it, I do want to make sure that I have come and I've pulled the tape past all of these like writing into the sticky tape part. So I'm going to push down the trigger, and rotate it a little bit more till I run out of words and I have tape here at the start. Then don't forget this piece that we took off at the beginning that holds everything down over here. And you'll place it down and then make sure it clicks. I'll try to do it again so you can hear it. Very soft click noise there, but you will want to make sure it's locked in. Now your tape gun is, or your tape glider is pretty much ready to use, so you'll close the lid once again on the tape glider. Then come over here to the, I don't know, the tape dispenser part, this front roll that is like a flat, solid, not the bumpy one. And you're going to want to just separate the like liner from the fresh tape, because if I were to start trying to use it right now, this tape is still kind of attached to this plastic beginner part of the tape or the liner there, and I can have some trouble. So I find it helpful to just rub my finger across and break that attachment of those two things. And then I should be ready to run my new adhesive along. So I know that was super, super slow, but I hope that for those who are having trouble, a very slow, deliberate explanation was helpful. Another common concern that I hear is that the ATG, once it's down, it's down. It's pretty sticky. It will ruin your paper if you pull it back up. And that's true. I'm not going to like deny and pretend that doesn't happen with it by any means. I don't think that the ATG has no flaws. Some things that you can do though, if you are just kind of trying to try the placement, of course, if you remember to try it before you put the adhesive down, all the better. However, if you already do have some stickiness on the back and you wanted to check things, you could lay it down very lightly without putting any pressure, and you should still be able to pick it up. If you put any sort of pressure at all though, if you push down, you're pretty much stuck there. I have been able to gently peel it up and reposition it slightly, but it is tearing the paper almost always. That is part of it. And the same thing is pretty common with liquid glue. You don't really have a lot of time and the glue is already kind of like sunk into the paper. There are removable adhesives out there and you can use those, but I find that they don't stick as well over time. It's just not my personal preference. So a very valid concern there. I did want to address that something that I do more often than I'd like is I accidentally put the adhesive on the wrong side. So in this case, I actually want to put the adhesive on this side. I don't want to use this side of the cut apart. I'm currently working on a paper pad video, so if you are interested in seeing what I do with all this, there will be a tutorial on my channel. But anyway, I want to take this adhesive off. I don't want it on this side of the paper any longer, so all I do is very gently, with a sort of like, I guess, flicking motion, roll the tape up off of the paper. And I have almost never had standard scrapbooking paper rip from this. I'm sure thinner like copy paper might, and again, anything that's more fibrous like chipboard, I could see it peeling off. But I find that generally this little rubbing motion, very short strokes, I am able to get the adhesive off without causing any damage to my paper and add the adhesive back onto the correct side. And so, you know, of course that's certainly a waste of adhesive and unfortunate, but I can save the paper. I also just wanted to share some like bonus tips with you. I used to store my ATG in the top drawer of my desk, but often when I'm working, I'm placing my ATG down on my desk. It is quite large. The mat that I'm working on here, this black mat, is an 18 by 12, so you can see that it's almost 12 inches big. It takes up a lot of room on your desk. Recently, Make It by Margot, it's just an Etsy shop that sells 3D printed material, gifted me, with no obligation. I just wanted to, I didn't even know they were sending this specific product. They gifted me this ATG holder, and I know there are others on the market, but I was quite pleased with theirs, and so I figured I'd show it to you. It I can place this quite smaller piece here on my desk and put my ATG inside. And now the footprint on my desk is considerably less than if I were to lay it flat. And in fact, it's a little bit hard to see from this angle, but it actually hangs over it. It hangs such that it's not flat on your desk. So there even could be some items underneath it, for instance. And so therefore, overall, taking a lot less space on my desk as I am working. And so sometimes I will still completely put it away when I really want to clean off my desk. But when I'm working, I find having this holder to be quite helpful. And they have a variety of colors and they're very reasonably priced with fast shipping. So just something to share there. Other thing I wanted to share is that I buy my refills in bulk from Tape Jungle. That has been, to me, the most reliably, like, it's easy to get. They have sales when you sign up for their list, and they sell them in rolls from 12 to I think like 48. So you can, maybe even more than that, you can buy really, really large amounts of them, and the cost per roll gets better the more you purchase. So I tend to get lots of rolls. I used to only just get 12 at a time. I found that I sometimes, when I'm like really into like when I'm doing a lot of crafting or I'm making a lot of paper pad videos, I'm going through more than one a week. And so even 12 is not a lot, and going up to the 24, but also it keeps for a really long time. I've had packages that have been sitting around for over a year and they're still fine. There's nothing wrong with them. So, another way to save on adhesive, besides having a refillable adhesive option, would be to purchase them in bulk. And I've had great reliable service from Tape Jungle, so they're who I would recommend. I hope this video has addressed some of your concerns. As I was sharing before, there are certain concerns that can't be eliminated. If it's too heavy or bulky, it just is. But I just hope by maybe sharing a few things from my experience, if you were having a little trouble but were maybe generally happy, that this is giving you some ways to move forward with it. And also, if you're just a big fan of the ATG already, sharing where to get good adhesive prices, or the holder was helpful to you. Another thing that I really like about the ATG is the ability to customize it. So I created this with sassafras paper. That was an old paper company, so if you have been in paper crafting for a long time, you'll recognize them. They're one of my favorite paper companies, and so I was able to add my name and this design in here, and I've seen a couple other people customize their ATG. So what I did is, when I first got my ATG, there was a piece of paper in here that was just kind of like a placeholder, and I just traced it and put my favorite piece of double-sided pattern paper in the area, and then used letter stickers to add my name, and I was able to adhere it where this is covered up. So there wasn't a lot of great places to add the glue, which might cause it to come off over time, but there is that little area in the center that is covered, and it was a little bit of a finicky thing to do, but it's quite nice to have the personalization. However, if you don't want to be bothered with that, you could, of course, again, just create a similar shape and glue it right to the outside. It'll wear down over time for sure. You can, maybe put some contact paper to make it last a little bit longer, but it's just fun to redecorate it anyway. So if it comes off in a couple years, have fun and change up the pattern. But just a little bonus thing that I like about my ATG. If you have any other additional questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them down in the comments. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more craft tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Like I mentioned, I like to work a lot with pattern paper, so if that's your thing, and if you're looking to use up pattern paper, I have a lot of helpful videos about that on my channel. And I'll link to the products that I mentioned, Make It by Marco, Tape Jungle, of course the ATG itself, and to my social media if you want to check me out on Instagram or something like that. Have an awesome day. Bye!